And next on my ancient DNA matches, Mesolithic 2 Neolithic French farmer, PEN001 underscore real1. The Alpes Côte d'Azur province, France, 0.15% DNA match. Apparently genetically closer to this sample than 84.67% of other genome link users. So this sample is from an early Neolithic female individual belonging to the Impresso-Cardial complex culture, unearthed at the PEN001 archaeological site, which is a rock shelter positioned 4 kilometers from Menton and Castellaire communes in the Alpes Maritimes department of the Alpes Côte d'Azur province in France, near the border with Italy. She was buried by inhumation. Radiocarbon dating indicated that she lived between the 5,480 to 5,370 Cal BCE interval. DNA extraction was performed from her petrous bone sample. Her mtDNA haplogroup was identified to be K1A1B1. The majority of Neolithic samples from Western and Central Europe belonged to the K1A clade. It expanded both in the Near East and Europe, and K1A1B1 was mainly restricted to Europe. Today, the K1A1B1 is frequent among the Ashkenazi Jewish people. The Neolithic revolution in Europe started with the demic diffusion of the Anatolian origin farmers. On their way, they followed two main routes, the Mediterranean coastline and the Danube River. Via the Mediterranean coastline, they arrived in Iberia and the Maghreb, while near the Danube River, they colonized Central Europe. In Central Europe, the intruding farmers created the linear pottery culture, while the Western Mediterranean, the impresso-cardial ware culture. The impresso-cardial ware culture derives its name from imprinting the ceramics with the heart-shaped shell of the Corculum cardissa cockle, or from incising the ceramics with other sharp objects such as combs or nails. Diet and site pathology, agricultural lifestyle, phytolith and oh my gosh, man, these big words. Phytolith and archaeobotanical data from her lair at PEN001 confirm the consumption and cultivation of early crops, including emmer wheat, corn, and barley. Organic lipid residue analysis of the pottery from the site show cooking patterns focused heavily on animal fats, plant products, and beeswax, notably showing the lack of dairy processing during this exact early phase. Skeletons excavated from the specific horizon at PEN001 were buried in individual pits featuring distinct stone architectures. Skeleton analysis indicates signs of physical pathologies or trauma across the individuals, suggesting highly selective community burial criteria. How she was buried. PEN001 was buried in an individual pit inside the rock shelter of Abri PEN001, rather than a simple dirt grave. Her burial featured distinctive stone architecture built into the pit, a practice shared by the other two early Neolithic individuals found at the site. The female PEN001 underscore real2, and mine's real1, and the male PEN003. This intentional stone arrangement highlights a formalized funeral custom practiced by the early impresso-cardial farming community. She was buried within a rich archaeological layer corresponding to the early impresso-cardial complex. The immediate layer surrounding the burials yielded early impresso pottery fragments, which were decorated using cardium shells and geometric punctures. Dietary clues. Organic lipid residue testing on the pottery from a specific layer indicates it contained residues of the fats we spoke before. The excavation layer also yielded remnants of early agricultural life, including the harvesting of the wheats, etc. Alongside the bones of domesticated sheep and goats. How she died. Skeletal pathology. The exact cause of death cannot be definitively stated from the skeletal remains, but her bones provide fascinating clues about her health and the broader community. Skeletal trauma and pathologies. Anthropological reviews note that all three individuals excavated from the specific horizon, PEN001, PEN002, and the PEN003, exhibit noticeable signs of severe physical pathologies or physical trauma. The selective recruitment hypothesis. Because every single individual buried in these stone-lined pits suffered from some form of major injury or disease, archaeologists believe the PEN001 community practiced selective burial recruitment. Instead of burying everyone in the cave, they specifically reserved this architectural cave burial for individuals who were severely altered by illness, physical trauma, or surgical interventions. The PEN001 site is notably famous for containing some of the earliest documented evidence of successful cranial trepanation or surgery in the Western Mediterranean. So looking at how we connect, let's have a look. So again, genome link, it's autosomal. So it's tested across all of my chromosomes. It could be from my mum or my dad. So the autosomal match, the shared blueprint, your 0.16, was it 0.16 match, is based on your autosomal DNA, which is the DNA inherited from your mother and father. What it means, this match is roughly equivalent to about 11 to 12 centimorgans of shared DNA. In modern genealogy, 11 SMs would look like a distant fourth to sixth cousin. The ancient reality, because PEN001 lived 7,400 years ago, you are obviously not fifth cousins. Instead, the percentage means you have retained a few small unbroken segments of DNA from the early European farmer ancestral pool. When PEN001 real1's population migrated from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, and spread across Europe, they became the genetic foundation for modern southern, western, and central Europeans. You share a tiny fraction of that foundational farmer genome. The mtDNA, my mother line versus her mother line, your mitochondrial DNA tracks your unbroken maternal line, mother to mother, grandmother, etc. Because your haplogroups are completely different, you do not share a recent direct maternal ancestor. Her maternal line K and your maternal line J are entirely separate branches of the human family tree. Interestingly, your haplogroup J1C3 does have a direct connection to the exact same cave. While PEN001 real1 was a K, the male individual, right, buried alongside her in the Pendium rock shelter, PEN003, belonged to haplogroup J1C3. I'm going to have to look at him now, then, aren't I? PEN003. Hello, my lovely. This proves that both K1A1B1 and J1C3 lineages arrived together in southern France 7,400 years ago as part of the same early farming wave. Wow. Both haplogroup J and haplogroup K are primary sub-branches of a much older genetic group known as haplogroup JT. The mitochondrial Eve of clan JT lived roughly 45,000 years ago, likely near East or West Asia. Her daughters split. One branch eventually evolved into K, leading to PEN001, thousands of years later. And then another branch evolved into J, and eventually my specific subclade, J1C3. So, matching J1C3 with an ancient genome changes the relationship from a broad population level autosomal connection to an exact, direct maternal lineage connection. The individual PEN003, archaeologically known as Pendamoun H2, was an early Neolithic man discovered in the exact same rock shelter layer as PEN001_real1. Because he carries the exact maternal haplogroup J1C3, you share a direct unbroken, I get so emotional, you share a direct unbroken line of mothers with him. Wow, so his profile, obviously male, adult, radiocarbon dated to approximately 5,480 to 5,337 Cal BCE, sharing a mean date of 5,413 BC. He lived at the exact same moment in time as PEN001. His Y chromosome belonged to I2A1A2. The burial context, like the females in the cave, he was buried with a specialized stone architectures in an individual pit. He was also showed the same severe skeletal pathologies common to the cave, reinforced that he was part of the community's selective, highly ritualized burial group. The path of your shared mother, because mitochondrial DNA is passed down only from mother to child without blending, PEN003's mother is directly on your maternal family tree. So the J1C3 first mother estimated around 5,250 BCE. Unbroken maternal line all the way down to me, modern day. PEN003 man lived 5,413 BC in France. That's when his line stopped, because men don't pass the mtDNA on. My God. And just in case you've not watched the other videos, the origin of haplogroup J as a whole originated in the Near East or the Caucasus and was tightly integrated into the early Anatolian agricultural populations. As early farmers migrating along the Mediterranean coastline, the impressed cardial ware culture, your maternal ancestors, travelled with them. They reached the borders of modern-day France and Italy by roughly 5,500 BC. According to phylogenetic dating, the specific subbranch J1C3 mutated and solidified right around 5,250 BCE, in brackets, with a buffer range placing it perfectly in line with PEN003's lifetime. What this means for you today, for me today, when you match an ancient individual's mtDNA haplogroup precisely at the subclade level, all 4 digits J1C3, it means you are a direct living representative of this specific Stone Age maternal clan. While PEN003 himself could not pass on his mitochondrial DNA as it stops with the males, his mother, sisters, or maternal aunts successfully passed this exact sequence down across 7,400 years through hundreds of generations of daughters, eventually reaching my mother and me. Wow. Today, descendants of this early Neolithic maternal migration pocket are found scattered across Europe, highly concentrated in southern Europe, especially Italy, Western Europe, the UK, France, and Central Europe, meaning your maternal line has deep roots in the initial agricultural birth of the continent. Next up on the ancient DNA match, Mesolithic 2, Scandinavian man shot by arrow, SBJ, island of Gotland, Sweden. Matching 0.13%, genetically closer to this sample than 71.41% of other genome link users.